But yeah, I got kicked out of CU first year on the day of worship night, and we had rehearsed. Imagine you're a first year, you've come to Nairobi, you just trying to work with different musicians in campus, and they conspire against you. For church musicians, listen to also, secular musicians, secular artists like, perhaps PJ Morton or something, and listen to their bass players. You'll really learn a lot, in as much as you might try to spiritualize this, but it will really shape your vocabulary. It will really shape you, as a musician in your craft.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Watumishi podcast. I'm your host with the most. My name is Garvillo Muziq. So Watumishi podcast is held at Sauti Gang Studios located in Current Village along Gong Road. So in case you have any nature of content you want to record, you're highly welcome to Sauti Gang Studios, where you have ambient space to be able to record your content. Also, Watumishi podcast is the home of inspirational conversations of personalities. And also, just a point to mention is that you can advertise with us through watumishipodcast@gmail.com. So you can get in touch with us through the email, then you'll be able to proceed with the conversation. We also have our social media handles, that is the Instagram and the YouTube, that is Watumishi podcast. So you can be able to get content about the different conversations that we have within our podcast. So today we are privileged and honored to have the one and only. Let me just give him the titles before we proceed. He's a pro bass player, he's a musician, he's a Rock Rivers bandit, none other than Amaya Kevin. Just call me Amaya. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Gavi.
Yeah, you're highly welcomed.
Yeah.
We were waiting, we were really anticipating to have you on the pod, And maybe I can recall where we got in touch is through Wakolosai.
Yeah.
There was a Wakolosai concert.
Yeah, shout out to Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Wanjala Bill.
Yeah.
It was indeed an amazing time. And we were just, as musicians, of course, we always just sit back and listen to the music. And you really, you're busy, Lilia. You're busy, Lilia, sana.
Thank you.
And so we just saw it fit that also we could have a conversation with you to just get to know how you've progressed, where you were born from, how you grew up, when did you get into the musical scene, when did you decide to be a bass player and all that. So I'll just start with the biodata.
The biodata.
Yeah, where was Amaya?
Okay.
Born from? Where did he grow up? Ama alizaliwa nje ya Kenya. Yeah.
Well, Amaya here. I was born in Nakuru. That's where I studied. Primary, high school, nursery, if such a thing still exists. Yeah, that's where I studied before I came to Nairobi. I came to Nairobi around 2021. Yeah, 2021 September, when I was joining campus. Yeah, so where did I start? So I've always been obsessed with music, much like any other musician, since the age of 3. So it was so engraved in my mind, that even when I would sit perhaps in a matatu with my mom from, her errands, I could, how the car, accelerates and decelerates, that noise that it makes. I could hear some sense of musicality in it, there was a bit of musicality in it. So I guess music for me has been with me since, I developed a sense of self-awareness. So that was around the age of 3. So around the age of 9, is where we joined this really, really good church that had really good music. It was called Jubilee. It's called Jubilee Christian Church, Nakuru. That's where I transitioned from to join Rock Rivers fully before I joined campus. Yeah. So when we, transitioned to that church from, the church we were when I was like 3, 5, I really went, and that's where I was exposed to like really, music that is thought through, has some sense of, arrangements and stuff like that. So I started learning drums. So drums was my first instrument. So actually, the first time I played in a service, I was 10 years old. So I've been in the music industry for most of my life, as young as I might be. Yes, I might have been like in the music industry, like span, with all these great musicians, the span I've been in the music industry, I might say we have been in the same time, So that's where I started learning drums. So I still wish I could play drums, actually. Honestly, I still wish like I could be still gigging on drums. So that's where I learned drums. After learning drums, around the age of 12, I think I was in class 7 or class 6, thereabout. I developed, some interest in melodical instruments. So I started, playing keys, learning the keys, learning the acoustic guitar. Then, bass did it for me, So I learned the bass around the time I was joining high school. I was in a mixed day school. So I didn't go to boarding school until Form 4. So I had the opportunity to learn bass that whole time. So I learned bass. Church, so I've been a church boy.
Entirely.
Yes, because in that church is where my sister is a worship pastor. Actually, all my 2 sisters are worship pastors. We have done we did a live recording with them last year. By the grace of God, we have released some songs on Oluchiri Music. Go check out Oluchiri Music. So that's basically it for me. Okay, so after learning the bass and all that stuff, campus came, the time to join campus. So I came to Nairobi around 2021 though. So that's perhaps the reason as to why nobody knew who Amaya was. Not that I actually care anybody who knows me. I just wanna play music, and that's all that really matters to me. So I came to join campus. I actually got kicked out of CU because of dreads. On the first worship night, I was in first year. I don't know if it was because I could play, I could express myself better on the bass more than the 4th years or the 3rd years. But let's just say they kicked me because of dreads. But I just thought it was some really foolish reason. But I got kicked out of CU first year on the day of worship night, and we had rehearsed. Imagine you're a first year, you've come to Nairobi, you just trying to work with different musicians in campus, and they conspire against you. So immediately after they kicked me out, that's when I started actually gigging, looking for gigging spaces, perhaps. So started looking for church gigs. So I met a friend through a friend who used to play with back in Nakuru. He's called Jason Jenga. Shout out to Jason Jenga. He was the musical director for my project last year. So he's a really talented guitar player, and he's also really talented on the keys. He arranged songs on the project. He wrote some songs on that project. So through Jenga really, was really instrumental in my developmental phases as a gigging player. So through him, I got to, what did I get to do? Tired.
You get maybe to know now
to know how to start gigging, how to. So that's when I really got even exposed to more arrangements, working with perhaps live enhancements or half-life. That's around 2021. Really, he taught me a lot of stuff. So I really owe it to him, because through him, he really shaped me during that time. So I owe a lot to him. Yeah, so shout out to Jason Jenga. Yeah, so so around 2022 is when, so at some point we were fired from a certain church we were playing at, because we attended a gig. It was like the first, it was One Nation One Worship when Essence of Worship was coming. So we were sacked because we didn't attend the Friday rehearsals. We instead
went for the.
So Jason was the MD. So of course, us as the bandits, we'll just follow the MD. So we got sacked, and I was like, still fine. I mean, at the time I was still being supported by my parents. So I really didn't. It was around May. So I really didn't care as much. I just needed a place to play. So there was like a Sunday that I didn't play, like in church or anything. So I was contemplating of going back to Jubilee Christian Church, Parklands for Katekiuna, back to my home church. But I didn't feel like, it wasn't gonna be for me. So immediately I'm in this group, Nairobi bass players. They posted about a gig. So I didn't even know it was Rock Rivers at the time. I remember at the time I was 19. I didn't even know it's Rock Rivers. So it was, this bass player is called Lover. So he had some engagement. So he was the initial bass player for Rivers. Yeah. So he posted about a gig. So I reached out to him, saying, hey, I'm available to play this Sunday. So they asked for a video of me playing, because of course nobody knows Amaya in 2022. It's just some musician kid from Nakuru. Yeah, so I sent him the video, because of a worship concert we had done before. Sent him a video and he said, yeah, it's fine. So the next weekend so he posted around Tuesday. So on Saturday is when I was supposed to attend rehearsals, and on Sunday we do the service. So they sent the list, and I really worked on that list, because it is you're going to play for Rock at 19. I remember even that Friday I didn't sleep, just trying to work out all the kinks, crack everything, figuring out perhaps leaks that I would employ in this section, Yeah, so I really didn't sleep. So I was actually very nervous. I remember that first period playing in Rivers, you can imagine a 19-year-old bass player playing in such a, platform. And you're young. I know I think I developed ulcers around that period. So I attended the rehearsals. I was okay. That's where I met Wanda Keys. He's currently in the UK, Evans Wanda Keys. That's where I met Edu for Sounds of Worship. That's where I met Daryl, our current team lead at Rock Rivers. He's also my best friend. He told me to give him a shout out. Shout out bro.
Shout out Daryl.
Shout out Daryl. Yeah. So that's where I met them. So how they expressed themselves, how they implemented their vocabulary really challenged me. So you can imagine people that you saw on the platform, so you're going to play with them, and they're not people that necessarily at the time, because at the time I still needed to really solidify a groove and work on it so that I can at least be at par with them. So you can imagine you're at that situation, and these people don't really need to listen to songs that much. They just need to hear it once, no matter how complicated it is. They have already gotten it, and me, I had really worked on it because perhaps my frontal lobe was still developing. There's something called neuroplasticity. It's the ability of the brain to adapt. So my brain was still forming that neuroplasticity. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I met Wonder Keys, and Wonder Keys used to be really tough love. Yeah. Shout out to Wonder Keys. He's a very good friend. So I every time I used to get to work with Wonder Keys, I used to be really scared. He's in the in-ears shouting at me, Amaya, no. So I used to be really scared to play on Sunday, Saturday. Yeah, so at some point we were, interchanging with Lover. He used to play 2 Sundays a month. I used to play 2 Sundays a month. But then God sort of opened another door for him, and he got a bit more engaged. So with time, I found myself playing more and more. So yeah, so that's when I became the residential bass player around 2023 mid. Yes. But I was just the substitute bass player. So by the time even Wakolosai was happening, I was like 2 years in or 3 years in, because Rivers is not an old church. So through Rivers is how I've gotten to work with all these musicians that I used to look up to when I was in my tween years or my teen years. So yeah, so it's a really dope platform for any musicians. Shout out to Pastor Stan Agacho and Pastor Doc and Pastor Kevin. Those are my pastors. Shout out to them. So that's how through those musicians, that's how I if people see you playing in a big platform, they, of course, if you're playing in a big platform, then you must be good. So that's how I got different calls. I got to tour East Africa with a hip hop artist called Checkmate. Shout out to Checkmate. I got many calls. To this day, it's paying my bills just from playing for Rivers and being there. So currently I'm the residential bass player at Rivers. So Rivers really shaped me as a musician, and last year I was able to do a live recording with my siblings. I think you've seen the songs.
Yeah. I was also just to go into it.
Yes.
In a bit.
Yes. So we did a project. So doing a project of that magnitude at such a young age we can only be God. Yeah. So I still wish I could play drums too. Yeah. And yeah, but yeah, that's where I'm at. So that's where I'm at. I'm actually from a creative showcase I was doing in Lavington. So before I came here, so I said I must come because I know things will get a bit more fixed.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
Wow, such an amazing journey.
Yeah.
From when you count the time you've taken to just solidify everything, it's not easy.
Yes.
As a musician,
yeah,
to just get grounded. And I believe some of the things maybe people like Wanda did,
yeah,
or the things that now made you be really, I want now to get this thing.
Yeah,
because I don't want next time mtu anipigie kelele kwa
kwa he really gave me ulcers during that period. But shout out to Wanda Keys.
Such an amazing journey.
Yeah.
You just talked about how people discriminated you in terms of your dreads, and it reminds me of a story of mine in campus.
Yeah.
In campus I used to wear shorts
and
chains.
Yeah.
So people used to wonder, is this guy really saved?
Yeah, just because you're wearing shorts.
Yeah, because I have chains and I have shorts. So
Yeah.
is it, I just think he has an agenda that has come to fulfill and hope. With some people, this guy is really serious. Like, you should never judge people of what you see them, because that is their form of dressing. That is how they have grown up. That is how they are. And instead, let the heart speak out. Not, nimekuona tu umevaa hivi. I've already said, umse haezi kuwa saved. Kama ako saved, maybe ni ile nusu tu anajaribu kuangalia, which was not the case. So I believe that's indeed a really hot topic in terms even of our industry and ministry, because some people might just look at you and say,
yeah, he's on dread, so basically he's doing drugs. He's basically on something before he comes to church, which is not always the case.
Which is not always the case.
Yeah,
true. So I did also some few profiles in terms of the journey, and I was just to mention about Oluchiri. Oluchiri Music.
Yes,
and I saw, I believe it's your sisters.
Yes.
You are three. I think there are two sisters. I saw them on an interview.
Yes.
Maybe just wanted to know, since I'm seeing your sisters are from a musical background.
Yes.
Also, your parents from, do any of your parents possess any musical?
Yeah, my mom used to sing the worship team back in Luya land, Kakamega, because we are all Luyas, both my mom and my, so specifically from Luanda. They used to be in the worship team with her siblings. And my grandfather, so my mother's dad, he pioneered Salvation Army in Western. It's called Amaya as well. And the wife to my grandfather, she plays the percussion. And she still does up to date. So the music comes from the mother's side. So my two siblings, I actually have 5 siblings, but only 3 of us are actively
in music,
actively involved in music.
Wow, such a great journey. And I see you play. You've played so many instruments. I see you've played the drums, you've played the keys, even the guitar. You play the acoustic.
I do play acoustic.
Si ugawie watu talent.
Wanione nyuma basi.
I see you've had such a number of years in the industry.
Maybe
what are some of the core lessons you've learned across your growth in those times of rebuke, in those times of when you're being parted?
Yes.
You've done quite a good job. What are those things that you wish maybe to employ even to those people who are playing music out here, that they need to have or they need to know to be able to also progress as you've progressed?
Well, I'm not gonna be cliche with it. I'm just gonna be as real as possible because I mean, I'm a Rasta man. Well, not. I'm a Rasta man by, just the hairstyle. But I'm gonna try to be as real as possible, especially to the young musicians, because I'm also not old. I'm still young. You see, this thing with admiring musicians, respect but don't idolize, because when you idolize, that's where they start taking advantage, especially if you work closely with them, especially people of the same instruments. That's when they start to take advantage. It's because I was in a position where I was taken advantage of, because I am a young musician, and I just wanted to, I'm not stupid. I could see it. You see, there's a difference between, GenZ's. The thing about GenZ's, their minds, you cannot. So you respect them, but don't idolize, because that's where you get hurt. it's good to engage these musicians. It's good to to laugh with them, interact with them, but respect yourself too, because you also matter. They're just a few steps away from you, in terms of, practice of vocabulary. And at some point, you'll get there. It's never that serious. Yeah? So, yeah, young musicians out there, kindly respect these musicians. Don't idolize. They're just humans like you. Yeah. Working with all these musicians, old musicians, all these type of musicians, you really get to understand that these people are flawed as well. And really flawed, and some of them really have a lot of issues. Yeah. So that's what I might say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Indeed amazing.
Yeah.
What kind of music do you believe brought you out in the bass playing, in terms of what kind of music did you listen much that you feel impacted your growth?
Yeah.
And maybe as you answer also that, who are the kind of musicians you've listened to over time that you feel have shaped how you play, or groups or bands, or
Okay. So what music really? Gospel. Not gospel like black gospel. Yeah. See, Rivers. See, the part of the reason I'm saying it's Rivers are shame is because the kind of music they play. So in rock fraternity, Rivers is known for doing black gospel really well. So gospel really shaped me. It's gospel, and what other type of music? Actually, it's really gospel. Yeah, gospel. Listening to albums like Moments in Time by Ntokozo, listening to James Fortune, Fred Hammond, the Winans, Smokey No Fool, the old folks, the people like actually pioneered the gospel of the black gospel. It really challenged me a lot. So I developed some vocabulary from there. Also listening to live artists like Kidum.
Kibido.
Kibido. Yes. So what are the types of music genres I listen to? I listen to a lot of genres. In fact, the genres that I listen to, I don't think necessarily bass players should be listening to them, because I listen to R&B and indie, and those are not songs that in as much as I love to play, I also just like to listen and lo-fi and relax, and not just concentrate on Zildjian live on Zildjian, so the kind of music I listen to might not be good for bass players, but I might tell bass players, listen to a lot of genres.
Yeah, true.
Listen to a lot of genres, because, if you just play one genre, perhaps you just play Sebe, manze utalala njaa. Utalala njaa, so listen to a lot of genres, work on a lot of genres. Yeah, just work on different genres, and, just be consistent on those, genres. Perhaps if you're working on this genre, perhaps let's say you're working on jazz, perhaps, because every instrumentalist for some reason jazz. So if you're working on jazz, focus on jazz for a while. Take time to listen to different artists like Coltrane, Miles Davis, all these greats. Listen to how their bass players interpret their music, because the thing with musicians is you play what you think works for that genre. But you should listen to genres, how it's played. Yes, and by album. So I was privileged enough to work with Isaac Mugunda for some time back, and he told me, because Isaac Mugunda is one of the most versatile guitar players. I still believe he's still the creme de la creme of guitar. That's a legend. Yeah, He's really versatile. Shout out, sir. He told me, because I take advice from people who are greats. He told me, listen to these genres and think and interpret like how the bass player in that particular song would. So really, the thing with us Gen Z bass players, the mistake we're making is we are not really, listening to these songs, listening to these old albums, and this might be controversial, but listen to also, for church musicians, listen to also, secular musicians, secular artists like, perhaps PJ Morton or something, and listen to their bass players, and listen to, you'll really learn a lot, in as much as you might try to spiritualize this, but it will really shape your vocabulary, it will really shape you, as a musician in your craft.
The broader you listen, the better you become.
The broader you listen, the better you become.
Wow. Amazing. And who are some of your favorite bass players?
In
the country, out of the country? Or people you look and say, hey, wacha niamke.
Well, who is my favorite bass player? Perhaps Kenya.
Kenya.
Yes, to be Kenya.
Either. It can be Kenya, it can be out of Kenya.
Okay. I might say I like their playing. I like how they interpret songs. I like Muziq's playing. I like Nick Kera's playing. Shout out to Nick Kera. I like Moise Basinza. I like Mark the Bassist. Shout out to Mark the Bassist. He has a really good heart. I like who's playing. There's so many really dope bass players in Nairobi. But at the top of my list, perhaps Ukuju is Muziq, Nick Kera, and Jeff Amisi. Those are like bass players that I really love how they interpret, music. Yeah, I really like.
Really
they're really good, dope bass players.
We've had an opportunity to have an interaction with them here. Wow.
That's Kenya. I still have to go.
You can mention maybe one or two.
Yeah. Matramzi. Matramzi and Abraham Laboriel. Yeah.
Wow. It means the taste of music you also have, man.
Thank you.
No wonder when you hear you play, you're like, hey, it's the consumption.
Yeah.
The speakers also we had, they said whatever you consume is whatever you get out. You can't put out what you don't consume.
Yes.
So the much you consume good music, the much you are able to produce good music.
That's right.
Wow. So on the question of creative process, what's your creative process like, and when do you flourish in terms of your creativity?
Okay.
Yeah.
About the schedule. I really should have a schedule. But at night is when I feel like I can really, practice my craft. That's when ideas come. There's a project that I'm directing. And ideas normally come at a specific time, perhaps 11, 12, when perhaps, the apartments are quiet. So around the night, and even I like to, practice at night. And I have seasons for rehearsing or practicing, working on my craft. So currently, I'm not in a season where I am practicing, but I'm about to be in a season where I'm practicing. So I can do around 2 hours, maximum 3 hours, from Monday to Friday. Saturday to Sunday, I can't, because, that's where we are most busy.
Yeah, true.
So it's really about the season in which I am. Perhaps in an off-peak season, that's where I really, get to work on my craft. But in the peak season of the year, I don't really.
You're into events, you're into.
Yes, so, we are all different. It's all about perspective, What might work best for me might not work
Best for
another person.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So for some people, they feel they need to practice 6 hours. I just need 3, man, and I'm good because immediately after that, I'll want to watch perhaps,
relax a bit.
a series or something, Yeah, or doom scroll through TikTok. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe what are the practices that you've done over time after mastering the craft that still make you remain effective as per you, in terms of when you just realize that here is the point, I'm into it?
Yes.
And then what are the factors that now you've considered to remain still top in your game in terms of your playing?
I'll say, okay. I've you see, think about bass playing. When you stay too long without practicing, you become sluggish. And when you become sluggish, people can tell. So perhaps if you'll have come to that Wakolosai gig and I was at my sluggish phase, perhaps you wouldn't have called me for this podcast.
Maybe.
You see, perhaps you'll be like, well, he can hold a groove, but
Yeah.
So what have I done? In as much as I have phases where I'm not, rehearsing or adding anything to my, vocabulary, I still do exercises. Perhaps in the morning, just for 30 minutes, even 45 minutes is a lot. I do exercises. We do covers with my friends. Also, it's also the question is also about staying relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, staying relevant at the same time.
Also, staying relevant is, if you have perhaps, an upcoming gig. Because I know I'll be in a position where I'll have to, you stay relevant by calling these people, different people, outside of the scope of your. In as much as musicians, we like to, we are very picky.
Yeah, true.
I try to stay relevant, perhaps by, calling different people for a certain gig that I may have. That's how I might try to stay relevant. But basically, rehearsing is like at the top. Yeah, rehearsing really easy. Kutizi manze. Yes, that's how.
Lazima. Oh,
yes, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How did you? How was your blending with other musicians in a band? Or how? Let's say, for example, the Rock River that you play right currently.
Yes.
How was the blend? How do you feel the synchrony came about? Because I believe at first ukikuja as a new person, kuna vitu najaribu kuelewa.
Yeah.
Then with time you blend in.
Yeah.
At what point do you feel like, sasa hii I can maybe even just understand nikisikia notes fulani, I know when to psych up the music, when to keep low, when to attack, when to do a groove or something of the sort. So basically your question is about how do you form chemistry? Yeah, how do you form chemistry?
And know what the music director wants.
Yeah.
That's your question.
Yeah, true.
So how do you do it? Well, it's a factor of time.
Time, yeah?
Yes. That's the number one thing. That's the number one reason. Because I remember when I joined Rivers, Evans used to really shout at me at the talkback, and that really also would still shout at me. And at some point I was like, man, do I really have to do this? Do I really have to come back to this? But you still have to persevere because you love music.
Yeah, true.
So time was a factor. Time is a factor for building that chemistry.
Okay.
Because there's some dramas that have created that chemistry with like Edu, perhaps Beth, Kitusa, Kings. So it's about time. Also, I'm gonna speak from the perspective of a bass player. You really have to understand or conceptualize in real time what the drama is playing. You really have to listen to that groove. It will be easier. basically you as a bass player, what you're doing, you're adding pitch, a discernible pitch to the note, perhaps on the kick.
True.
So what perhaps helps is listening to the drummer, listening to your musical director, because I remember, when our new musical director came in, I really had to learn him. I know what he likes. So time and listening. You just really have to listen.
Oh. And what happens in those instances? Or have you ever had stage fright?
Yes.
What happens in those?
I even had stage fright at Wakulusai. What do you mean?
And then you are playing so confident.
I mean, you can't be a rasta and wearing and you have. I had glasses on, right?
Yeah.
And I sat like this. I mean, you have to, because they were like a ton of bass player. There was Nikera there doing. I think he was doing graphics or something.
Yeah.
There was like Simi. Shout out to Simi. There were many bass players. But I'm a man, what am I supposed to do? And I have to pay the rent, and I have to pay the bills. Well, what do you do when it comes to stage fright? Because there are also female musicians. Well, you can prepare. Just prepare. If when you're nervous on stage, it means you're not prepared really enough.
Yeah, true.
You see, so I was a bit nervous, or had some bit of stage fright, because but as immediately we were in the song, it disappeared.
Yeah, true.
So the stage fright comes before, but if you've prepared enough,
you're confident of what you want to produce.
You're confident.
Yeah.
So also pray.
Yeah, true.
Pray, because I do have stage frights. In these platforms, it's normal.
It's normal, true.
But if you just have to be confident enough and prepare enough, it's just like in exams. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
And aside from the bass playing, also maybe have you ventured into directing? Have you done music directing also?
Yeah, I'm directing a project currently. It's a live recording for an artist called Flavian Mutola. It's called The Wake Live Recording. It's gonna be happening on April 19th. Yeah. So you all are welcome. It's on April. Hopefully by the time this podcast will be out, hopefully. Yeah. So yeah, I direct. I compose as well. But even in my own projects, even in my last project, it's not like a thing or an ego boost for me. Like it's not something I prefer composing rather than directing.
Sorry.
I prefer composing rather than directing. So in my last projects, I composed more rather than direct. I didn't even direct. So directing is not. I have so many times in worship concerts, but it's not something that really gets me going or anything of that sort. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So being a musician, I believe also the music you arrange by yourself.
Yeah.
What are some of the points of focus across your bass learning that you wish to point out in terms of someone who maybe is already interested in it? Because music, for me, I believe it's passion drives it out. If, for example, someone does not even have passion about it, whenever anamwambia practice na, in real sense, his heart is not sold out for it. It's quite a big problem. But what are the points of focus you can mention to a bass player in terms of your growth? Did you start in theory, or did you start in practical, or how did you balance it out?
Okay.
In terms of just understanding, of course, because theory also plays a major role in terms of
it does
because
to play, because you can't play what you really don't know so much, because understanding theory really is what gives you the creative freedom. So I started by practicals a bit, but my former bass player teacher, he just showed me the skill and told me, this is D, this is D sharp, perhaps this is C, this is C sharp, and gave me a shape. A shape for the solfa scale. And from there, I went out on my own. I researched. I have some theory books that I read in high school. I was really very intentional because you cannot actualize what you don't know.
Yeah, true.
Or perhaps you can, but it won't be as, like all these great bass players that you admire. So yeah, theory is very, very, very essential because at some point, I'm also planning to go back to school to learn more. I did a BRSM for drums up to grade 2, but I stopped when I joined campus. But when bass was really becoming my primary instrument, because I have theory for keys, I have theory for guitar, I have theory for all these instruments. I understand basically how music works. But there's also, techniques for bass, there's, because there are a lot of genres, a lot of stuff to, it's
compounding.
It's an ocean, yeah. So theory is really important. Yeah. So that's my approach. Yeah.
Amazing. Currently, what's your favorite music song? What's your favorite song in your discography?
My favorite song?
Yeah.
I can mention several.
Currently, what? No.
Luvela Kue by Mutethia. It's my favorite song currently. I can mention secular as well. Or I'm gonna be too controversial for a Christian-based podcast. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. Luvela Kue by Mutethia. Songs in my album. They are some of the best songs. I like what other song? I like Ntokozo's Moments of Time. It's an album that really does. I've mentioned it before in this podcast. It's an album that really does it for me. And also, there's so many albums I'm listening to right now, by the way. So many albums. But my favorite song right now, it's Luvela Kue by Mutethia.
Amazing. And maybe now, as we are almost getting to the end, I want to just get what is your highlight? What is your highlight?
Yeah.
In the professionalism of bass, and what are the low moments that you've had?
Yeah.
In the same career.
I can start with the low moments.
Yeah, you can start the low so that you finish on a high.
The low moments for me was being taken advantage of because I was young. Because the person, of course, who is taking advantage of you is basically, of course, he's doing better, or perhaps he's better than you, or just a few practices away from you. Yeah. So those were some of the lowest moments. I think that was the lowest moments in my bass playing time. There was also a time where, the time I was sacked that Sunday. It was a really low moment for me. Felt like maybe I should just focus on journalism. This 3,000, 4,000 that they give us at church. I mean, what is this, peanuts? Yeah, those were really low moments for me. And there were also times where I wanted to quit on that project that I did last year so many times. So those were some of the lowest moments. Highest moments was when I did that recording. I joined Rivers. I toured East Africa. What else? This is also a high moment because I think I'm the youngest bass player or the youngest musician here that you have interviewed. So true. This is it's a cool moment. There's so many high moments. It will extend past the podcast time.
No, the podcast time is your time. We've not set.
I'm not.
We've not set. It's you to decide.
It's for me to decide.
Yes, you can decide when you go 5 hours. We go.
Yeah, so many high moments. moments where I teach. I have a white student. You know, I'm saying white for me to sound a bit serious. I have a white student that I'm currently coaching. That's really doing it for me right now. Yeah.
Mentioning about teaching, you still teach? Do you still accept students in your?
Yeah, I do accept students.
How can they get in touch with you for classes?
The same way you did. Instagram. They can, but the student, you know, it takes one to know one, So I really know when a student is serious or is really musical by just, you know, some hours of interaction. I can assess because at some point I had a drum academy. I was teaching drums. So that kind of, you know, showed me how to assess the musicality and how serious. So I usually ask a question. Why do you want to learn the piece? Yeah. So ndo nijue na kufunza tu
gives you a clear direction.
It gives you a clear direction. Yeah. That's a question that I normally ask. Yeah.
Amazing. So as we close out, maybe social media handles, how people can get in touch with you, how people can watch you and get to you in terms of the different aspects that people feel they need to. So you can just mention it. And also, as you let me allow you first to finish that, then I ask you a question.
Yeah.
There's a question that is burning me here.
Ask.
How did you come up with Just Call Me Amaya? What is the inspiration behind Just Call Me Amaya?
I don't think it's really profound. I tried to while I was creating that account, I tried Amaya Kevin. Sorry, user, can't work. Sorry, I tried Amaya guitars, but I thought it was too childish. I'm also rethinking Just Call Me Amaya because I think it was, you know, there's so many personalities when it comes to me. So, but how did I come up with Just Call Me Amaya? Because I like the name Amaya as well. I mean, it's a really cool name.
It's a good name. It's a cool name.
I mean, so yeah, just call me Amaya because I don't want anybody to call me. I want to do Amaya bassist, Amaya some Amaya solo or Amaya master keys or something. I think that's a millennial thing. Yeah,
it's a good name. It's a very
it's a millennial
awesome,
thing.
Awesome name.
Yeah.
I think Takana Tunde is Just Call Me Amaya.
Just Call Me Amaya. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a dope name.
Wow. So as we close out, maybe you can just mention the social media handles that you have. I believe our director will also project them on the video.
Yeah.
You can go forth, maybe Instagram, TikTok.
Well, I am not active on TikTok, but you can find me on Instagram. I'm planning to be active on TikTok as soon as, you know, this podcast ends. Instagram, just call me Amaya. Just .me Amaya. You can find me there.
Okay.
Yeah, and on the bio there's, you know, you can get an access. There's a link to
your to your music.
Yes.
YouTube. Oluchiri Music, I also
yes, Oluchiri Music, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, pleasure. Wow, what an honor to have you on the pod. Such an amazing conversation, just to get to know you, just to get to know it's a process. And people who maybe are seeing you for the first time, or people who saw you in the events for the first time, you see it's all about the process.
Yeah, it's all about
the process, how people come out. You're able to just know their journeys and how they got to where they are at.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming to the pod. We
Thank you, sir.
appreciate your time, big time.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime tuikuita hope pia utakuja tu.
Utakuja tu. Tutapata pesa cab.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
So it's a wrap. So we appreciate Maya for coming through. I believe it's a conversation that we need to also listen to and learn and also grow in terms of the different aspects that we are practicing in the different sectors of what we do. So other than that, have a very pleasant time as you watch, and remember to get to his social media handle. Just call me Amaya on Instagram. Get there, follow, see the content, appreciate the content. You know, if you love music, get there and be able to push a like and all that. So also on our page Watumishi Podcast, remember to like, share and subscribe our content for more. And also you can be able to add on the comment section who do you want to see next I believe Amaya has mentioned so many people. Whom do you want to see next? Just mention it down there and she'll be able to get in touch with them.
Yeah.
Other than that, have a blessed time. Adios.
Thank you, sir.